Where should you splurge on insulation? Today in this video, we're going to talk to our professional Mike about all the types of insulation, the pros and cons, and how you can best find the value for when you're insulating. Let's get started. We're here with Mike from Sunbro Building Materials. He's in charge of the insulation. We're going to get started with the basics of different types of insulation and where they're used. Mike, what do you know?
Well, there's a lot of different types of insulation. Most people, when they think of insulation, they just think of the basic bats of insulation. A bat is just a woven fiberglass bat that's put into a solid form that you can put into different types of cavities. They come in all different types of sizes, shapes, thicknesses, lengths. So that way they can fit the cavity that you're trying to fit, whether it's 16-inch on center, 24-inch on center, whether you got metal studs, wood studs, they've got all different types of widths and thicknesses. So that's the basic insulation that most people know of. Also, when you look up in your attic, you see a bunch of fluffy stuff, and that comes in a lot of different types. But today, it's generally used as fiberglass insulation. Sometimes people will use a cellulose insulation, which is just instead of fiberglass, it's more of a broken up type of recycled paper type product. We tend to use a lot more of the fiberglass just because it has a lot more integrity over time. And people like that. If they're going to pay for an R value, they want to have an R value. An R value is a resistance to heat transfer. So the higher the R value number, the better resistance to heat or the better insulation levels you're going to have. So those are just a couple types. Now this is actually the blown in insulation, but what we've done is we put it into a wall behind netting. And what we do is we do this to what's called a dense pack. And the dense pack, what it allows it to do is give you a lot more R value. So if I were to take that bat, which is an R19, and put it in the same wall, I'm going to get about an R19. If I can do a dense pack net and blow, then I've actually got more R value. And it's going to be dense enough that it's not going to settle over time. And also, if you look down here, now we haven't cut out all around it yet, but this is a typical electrical receptacle there. And the nice thing about the blown-in insulation is it'll get in behind those a lot more than a bat, because there's a lot of wires, there's a lot of things going on behind that it's really hard for the bat to get a good tight insulation, where the net and blow will do a much better job with that. Okay, those are two types. There's also other types of insulation. You've got sound insulation, which is rock wool. I don't have any here yet. My guys are going to be here putting some in today, and hopefully we can get that on the video. And those are used more for trying to sound deaden certain rooms that people may want, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's also other insulations that are used for on the outside of a home, typically under stucco, under different types of siding, around foundations, and that's a rigid insulation. It's a styrofoam type of insulation.
Did you want to talk about spray foam insulation at all?
Oh yeah, thank you. Spray foam insulation, that's a different application. Spray foam insulation there's two different types. There's an open cell and a closed cell. Open cell has a similar R value to your regular fiberglass insulation. Closed cell is actually going to have about twice as much insulation value. It is quite a bit more expensive. And its applications for the closed cell are usually on exterior walls. Sometimes, I don't have an open wall here to show you, but sometimes what we'll do when people want to make a really nice tight home, when I say tight, I mean airtight and also tight away from bugs, little things that can get through, okay? So what they'll do is behind this, before they even put this on, they'll put in like 1 or 2 inches of closed cell, whatever they choose to do. Mm-hmm. And what that does, it does a couple things. So behind these receptacles, it makes it even tighter than what the net blow can do. I mean, it makes it really tight. This stuff is, when it hardens, you have to get a Sawzall to chip it off. Yes. And with the R value, with its integrity, your house is tight when this stuff is installed. That's usually done on confined spaces like walls. When you're dealing with attics, a lot of times people, instead of putting, as you can see, we're going to be putting some net and blow up in the attics up here. Sometimes people prefer to have the deck of their roof to have the foam insulation. And we'll usually use an open cell because it's less expensive and we've got a lot of room to work with there.
Yeah.
And the reason people would use that is they are more concerned about keeping their attic cool. Okay, and there's different reasons for that. Sometimes it makes more sense, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes if you have a flat roof, it might be required by code to have some type of foam insulation on that roof deck for condensation reasons and things like that. So it depends on what the code requires in your local area, will depend on what you need to do to that roof. If it's a flat roof, definitely check and make sure whether you do or do not need to have any type of foam on that roof deck.
Now that we know the different types of insulation and what an R value is, what insulation would you say is the best bang for your buck, Mike?
The least expensive type of insulation is your basic batt insulation. The lower R value you go, the less it costs because there's just less material. The next after that is going to be typically your net and blow. And then after that, you're going to go into your spray foam, and that's going to be your more expensive type of product.
Gotcha. So if you were to build a house today, obviously we live in a very hot climate. Obviously we got students across the country with different environments. What would you put in your house as the best value?
Okay, so there's a few things that I would want to consider when I'm building my house. Number one, is this a starter home that I'm going to live in for 2 to 5 years, maybe 10 years? Is this going to be the home that I'm going to retire? They're going to carry me out in a body bag. Okay. How long am I going to be here? How comfortable do I want to be here? What climate do I want to live in? Those are all factors that I want to consider when I start building my home, from the type of studs I use to the type of insulation I use. Those are factors. So let's say I'm, for example, building a house that I'm going to be in for 5 to 10 years. Okay. And I want to spend as little as I can and be able to pass the code requirements. I'm going to probably put in batt insulation as much as possible, and I'm going to try to put in just blow-in insulation in the ceiling. There are some areas, as we can see in this home, we might cover that won't be accessible after the drywall's put in, so we have to put in the netting beforehand. Those are called inaccessible areas. We'll want to check with the local code to make sure that I know exactly what is required by code. And sometimes states have different codes than what the national codes are. Like in Utah, we can get away with upping some areas of the home, and it's called a res check, and then lowering other areas just to get an overall R value of that house, okay, or insulation value of the house. So here in St. George, the code is R38. But if you go up to 45 minutes up the road where it's 3,000 feet higher, they're going to have a minimum code of R49. So there's different codes. We want to make sure we know those when we're starting to build the home, and that'll help us.
One of the areas I like to invest more money in is sound walls. Where would you put sound walls, and why would you even consider putting a sound wall in the house?
Sound walls are generally made to keep certain areas of the house private. For example, we've got a major living space right over here behind us. It's a living room. And here we've got the master bedroom. People in the master bedroom might want to have conversations or might want to go to sleep when there's a lot of noise out here. They don't want to have noise going through these walls. So what I've done as an installation person to communicate to my installers, I come through and I mark these as these are going to be sound walls. You can tell by the black marks. So around the master suite, I have sound walls all the way around. Also in here, this is going to be the laundry room, which is nice and convenient for the master because it's got a nice access right into the master closet. But as they're sleeping over in this room, they don't want to hear the washer and dryer going here. So I'm actually going to have an extra type of sound wall here, which is going to be a rock wool, and it's a much higher STC rating than your typical fiberglass bat, which is what I'm going to use on most of the walls throughout this house as far as sound walls. But on this wall, because it's the master suite and I've got some noise going on right here, I'm going to put in some rock wool here for you. Yep. Anywhere where you want privacy or less noise, laundry rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms. On the other side of the house, we have 2 bedrooms that have their own private bathrooms. We've actually put a sound wall in between those bathrooms in each of those bedrooms, so that way the bathrooms do have some privacy one from the other.
What are some areas that a homeowner might consider trying to save money in, but in the end, it doesn't really work out?
Well, the biggest areas that you want to try to save money in are areas that don't really matter. Okay, sometimes people say the garages don't really matter, and that might be true. One of the things I always caution people against is skipping areas that they cannot get to at a later point. For example, in this garage, I've got walls and I've got a ceiling. Those walls, as soon as we're out of here, the sheetrockers are going to come in and they're going to put their sheetrock, the drywall everywhere. And once those walls are covered, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to come back in and properly insulate those walls. We can put holes up in there, patch them up later, and try to drop the insulation down. But as you can see, there's wires. There's a lot of things. There could be 2x4s going across that we can't see as insulation installers. That it's just not going to get a good quality install. So I would say, don't cut out the walls. If you want to save money, don't insulate the attic. You can always do that at a later point as long as you have access to that attic. Okay, make sure you have access to it at a later point. This one I have very good access, so if you didn't want to do the garage, you want to save some money right now to spend on later, I would consider the attic.
Mike, we have this house wrap between the garage and the house. That's not required. Why did you guys put this on?
Well, the reason we do this is the garage, and the garage doors are usually installed weeks after we come in and do the insulation. Sometimes we get a lot of wind that comes through. If we install this on a Thursday and Friday, whether we have net and blow, which is what we have here, we could have bats back here. If we have a big windstorm that comes through in the next couple days, there has been times where we have a bunch of bats that get blown all over the place, and then the contractor or the homeowner, whoever's hired us to come out and do the work, they've asked us, hey, we just had a big windstorm. We have to pay you now again to come back and
reinstall
to repair all the damage caused by the wind. Now, we can't guarantee it, but what we do like to do, instead of using the regular netting that they use on the net and blow, which does work, but it's not as wind resistant as a typical house wrap is. So this is gonna hold up to that wind a lot better than anything else that we can have. So we do like to put this in there just as an extra protection. We also use this when we do taller knee walls, and we can talk about that in a minute, because knee walls are that common area where an inside conditioned space is open to an attic space. It's not an exterior wall, but it's a vertical wall. And over time, especially if you're going to be living in this home for a while, over time, that knee wall, usually done in bats, R19 bats, and it's usually going to be a face bat, that can fall down, especially if it's 2 feet or higher. It can fall down, and now you have air infiltration that can get into your home. So we do like to use a house wrap or something to be able to tie that on, and it's a lot more durable than netting, so it's going to be able to last the test of time and holding that bat in place.
Mike, when hiring an insulator, what are the qualities that you're looking for in them?
So when you're hiring a contractor in any trade, knowing kind of what work they have done in the past, getting references is always a good thing. For instance, I know Kelsch Construction, they like to work with Soundproofing and a lot of their different building materials because we are a big company, we're reputable, we stand behind our work. you may want to go with a small company, and that's fine, but make sure you get references from other people that have had their installation done by this contractor. They're most likely working for other contractors. I've heard horror stories, as well as I'm sure everybody has, in hiring a contractor. Especially if you're a one-time user, they may not treat you as well as they do their general contractors. So just make sure that you're dealing with somebody that's going to stand behind their work, that you can get maybe some references, maybe talk to some of their other customers, go by a look at some of their work, and go with your gut feeling. Sometimes that gut feeling goes a long ways. You can always check Better Business Bureau, things like that. Those are all things you can check. But I would say references is a good thing to go with, and the size of the company and their name.
Thanks, Mike, for giving your professional advice and opinion on insulation. We appreciate your time.
You bet.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope you found today's video helpful. If you want to learn how to build your own home, we have all sorts of packages that you can find at howtobuildyourownhome.com.